Sean Diddy Combs' prison release date has officially been changed, and this latest update is sending shockwaves through the entertainment world all over again. After months of legal back and forth, sentence recalculations, appeals, and federal reviews, the most recent Bureau of Prisons records now project that the hip-hop mogul will be released on April 25, 2028, earlier than previously expected. That shift might seem like a small adjustment on paper, but in a case as explosive and emotionally charged as this one, even a few weeks can spark massive public reaction. To understand why this matters, you have to remember just how dramatic this fall from grace has been. Sean Combs, known over the decades as Puff Daddy, P. Diddy, wasn't just another rapper, he was a cultural architect. As the founder of Bad Boy Records, he helped launch and shape the careers of some of the biggest names in hip-hop and R&B. He built fashion brands, beverage empires, television platforms, and a billion-dollar image rooted in luxury, power, and influence. For years, he symbolized success at the highest level. And then, everything changed. In September 2024, federal authorities arrested Combs in Manhattan following a sweeping investigation that had been building quietly behind the scenes. The charges were serious and headline-grabbing: racketeering conspiracy, sex trafficking allegations, and transportation-related offenses tied to prostitution. The indictment painted a disturbing picture of alleged misconduct spanning years. His homes were raided, former associates came forward, civil lawsuits piled up, the media cycle exploded. The trial that followed in 2025 was one of the most closely watched celebrity court cases in recent memory. Cameras weren't allowed inside, but every detail leaked out in daily waves of reporting. Witnesses testified about the private world behind the red carpets. Former partners described relationships marked by control and excess. Prosecutors argued that Combs used his wealth and influence to facilitate criminal behavior. His defense team countered aggressively, insisting that many allegations were exaggerated, consensual situations were being reframed, and that prosecutors were overreaching in an attempt to make an example out of him. When the jury finally returned its verdict in July 2025, the outcome stunned many observers. Combs was acquitted of the most severe racketeering and trafficking counts, but convicted on 2 federal counts related to transportation for purposes of prostitution. It was not a total victory for either side. It was a complicated verdict that left both supporters and critics claiming partial vindication. On October 2025, he stood before the judge for sentencing. The courtroom was tense. Family members were present. His children watched as their father, once untouchable, prepared to hear how many years he would spend behind bars. The judge ultimately handed down a 50-month federal prison sentence along with financial penalties. It was less than the maximum he could have faced, but it was still a significant stretch of time. During sentencing, Combs delivered an emotional statement. He spoke about ego, about excess, about mistakes. He acknowledged that his choices had consequences. He expressed regret for the pain caused to his family. Observers described him as visibly shaken, a stark contrast from the confident mogul persona the world had known for decades. He was transferred to a federal correctional facility in New Jersey, where he began serving his time. Now fast forward to today. The reason his projected release date has been adjusted to April 25, 2028, comes down to federal sentencing calculations and participation in rehabilitative programming. In the federal system, inmates can earn reductions through good behavior credits and through participation in structured programs aimed at rehabilitation. Sources close to the situation say Combs enrolled in intensive programming early into a sentence and has maintained compliance with institutional rules. That doesn't mean the road has been smooth. Reports from inside the facility over the past year described a period of adjustment. For a man who once lived in sprawling mansions, flew private jets, and moved with security teams, federal prison life is a humbling reset. Daily schedules are rigid, privileges are limited, reputation means very little behind those walls. Fellow inmates reportedly treated him with a mix of curiosity and caution. Some saw him as a celebrity, Others saw him as just another inmate serving time. Public reaction to the release date change has been deeply divided. Supporters argue that rehabilitation is exactly what the justice system is supposed to encourage. They point out that federal policy allows for sentence reductions when inmates demonstrate good conduct and genuine participation in programs. They say if those standards apply to everyone, they should apply to him too. Critics, however, see it differently. Social media lit up almost instantly after the updated date became public. Many users questioned whether celebrity status subtly influences outcomes, even within structured federal systems. Others argued that any reduction feels unfair given the seriousness of the conduct that led to his conviction. For some, the entire case represents larger questions about power, accountability, and whether fame shields individuals from the full weight of consequences. Meanwhile, Combs's legal team continues to pursue appeals. They have argued that aspects of the trial were flawed and that certain evidence should not have been admitted. Appeals in federal cases can take years to resolve, and while there is no guarantee of success, the possibility of further sentence changes remain on the table. Prosecutors, on the other hand, have stood firmly behind the conviction and sentencing, pushing back against arguments for additional reductions. Beyond the courtroom, the cultural fallout has been immense. Streaming platforms rushed to produce documentaries examining his rise and fall. Industry insiders began reassessing his legacy. Radio stations quietly adjusted rotations. Former collaborators distanced themselves. Brands re-evaluated partnerships. In matter of months, decades of carefully built reputation came under scrutiny. For his family, the impact has been deeply personal. His children have largely remained out of the spotlight, though occasional public statements have emphasized unity and support. Those close to them say the situation has forced difficult conversations and emotional reckonings behind closed doors. And then there's the question everyone keeps asking: what happens in 2028? If the current projection holds, Sean Combs will be 58 years old when he walks out of prison. The music industry will look different. The cultural climate will be different. Audiences may be more skeptical. Redemption arcs in Hollywood and hip-hop are complicated, sometimes embraced, sometimes rejected. History shows that some public figures manage to rebuild after incarceration. Others never fully recover their former influence. Much will depend on how Combs chooses to present himself, whether he continues to express accountability, and whether the public is willing to separate his artistic legacy from his legal troubles. For now, the key fact remains this: his projected release date has been moved up to April 25, 2028. That is the most current timeline in federal records. It represents earned credits, institutional compliance, and the structured mechanics of the federal prison system at work. But beyond the technical adjustment lies a much larger story about fame and consequence, about power and vulnerability, about how quickly an empire can shift from red carpets to courtrooms. This case has forced uncomfortable conversations across the entertainment world. It has highlighted how influence operates, how justice functions under intense media scrutiny, and how reputations can unravel under investigation. And as each new update emerges, whether it's an appeal filing, a documentary release, or a revised prison date, the public remains captivated. The countdown to April 2028 is now officially underway. Whether that date marks the beginning of a carefully crafted comeback or simply the closing chapter of a turbulent era remains to be seen. What's certain is that when that prison date eventually opens, the world will be watching closely. Make sure to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more celebrity updates just like this.